Good evening. Welcome to Meron, Israel, the home of the great sage Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, where we are getting ready for the holiday, which will be Monday night. But there are already thousands of people everywhere. We were here for Shabbat, and it's an amazing scene. And the spirituality and the achdut, the unity, you feel it in the people, the love, the happiness. And it's just a pleasure and a gift, really, to be here. And I thought we'd share a few ideas that we saw on Shabbat in the Holy Zohar of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The exciting thing for me is to see something that I haven't learned. Now, there's probably 5 billion things that I still have to learn. But, in the Zohar, you learn and you learn, and you stack up the years of material, and when you find something new, it's exciting. So a few ideas. It's called the Hashmatot Zohar, which means that things that were taken out of the Zohar and put in on file, and they came back, and they found them and they revitalized them as new pieces of the great grand collection called the Zohar, which spanned many years of the rabbi's teachings. So we see a teaching about Abraham, which is very interesting. The Zohar says, wherever Abraham or Isaac or Jacob went in their journeys through the Middle East, they found wells. Now, finding a well, it sounds like, what's the big deal? Is that a miracle? Well, you have to think back 4,000 years to finding wells in the desert, because if you don't find enough water, you can have real life-threatening situation. And wherever they went, they found wells. And the Zohar says that was a sign that the world was coming around to recognizing God. And when they went out and they found wells that were filled with earth by the local idol-worshipping tribes that lived here in Canaan, there's 7 major tribes. And if you've read the Bible, you've probably seen that one is called the Philistines, and the Canaanite tribes were very steeped in various types of occult practices. But they also, when they wanted to get at their enemies, they would fill up their wells with earth. And so the Zohar says when the earth was being filled up into the wells, that was a sign that the world was turning away from God and back to idol worship. So you see, it's hard for our modern mindset to grasp what this is like, but we're talking about, small feudal city-states where everybody kind of served the same idol. And these people serve the idol of grain, and these people serve the idol of the ocean, and these people serve the idol of the river. And all these forces, of course, we've learned in our class, if you check it out on Patreon, that the idea of the false gods were an exaggeration of the truth, because the Kabbalah teaches us that there is an angel appointed over every river, every mountain, every ocean, every tree, every blade of grass as a channel of force from God. Now, if you take the idea of the angel and you blow it out of proportion, it becomes a god. And so then it becomes something you serve as opposed to something you can appreciate, that the amazing unity and integrated power of the infinite being in all this creation. When you see that it's all integrated, and the word we use for that integration is angels, it makes a lot more sense. But to take the idea of an angel and turn it into a separate entity on its own power base, that's idol worship. So you see, it's just a matter of tweaking our own tools of perception. The instruments which we measure importance, how we weigh reality, is a big part of how we come up with an image of life as we live it. So, when our heart is pure and we believe in one God and we want to do the right thing, all of a sudden we get a shift in proportion, a shift in priority. And so this teaching about the wells being filled with water or filled with earth, one being the idea of life and one dealing with the idea of serving foreign gods, It makes perfect sense. So that was a new look we had. Also, we saw that Abraham and Isaac themselves represent Chesed and Gevurah. Abraham is kindness giving, and Yitzhak Avinu is the power of reserve, of strength, of holding back, of setting boundaries, of saying no, of power expressed in a can be a forceful manner. It's very interesting because in Kabbalah, the Zohar teaches us that God wanted to create the world with din, with judgment, with the power of Gevurah, with the power of black and white thinking. And we don't look at black and white thinking as a very open thing, right? It sounds pretty closed-minded and pretty dogmatic, and just like that old-time religion that came down from the Vatican and elsewhere. That black and white thinking is not something we're looking at, but God actually wanted the world to work like that if you did a good deed, you got rewarded right away. And if you did a bad deed, you got punished right away. And and there was no fuzzy zone, which now that's all we have is fuzzy zone, right? All we have is this gray area where good and evil are so mixed we can't even tell the difference. So, it's like this whole controversies around things in politics and things in the customs and culture and gender. All of these conflicts are because the world is so mixed and we are not clear about good and evil, right and wrong, left and right, however you want to phrase it or frame it. And so over there, the Zohar teaches us that a very important principle, that the kindness, the side of Abraham, has to pull Yitzhak to him. That you can't start with, if you start with might and strength and power, it's very hard to back up into kindness and patience and loving kindness, right? But if you start with loving kindness, then you can pull the Gevurah into your being and into your relationship to the world. And so you see, it's a different way of how we filter our presentation to the world. Are you coming with kindness? Are you coming with Gevurah, with strength? And really the perfect is the balance of the two, which we call Tiferet. Now tonight is the 31st day of the Omer, right? And so we're counting these days up to the receiving of the Torah, and each day is a different combination of traits, like what we just talked about Avraham and Isaac, that these two traits of strength and kindness, Chesed and Gevurah, their ultimate purpose is to be balanced together to create a new quality called Tiferet, called beauty. And that was, of course, represented by Jacob, Yaakov Avinu. And right now we've got a pretty loud Sephardi rock and roll band playing. And I just wanted to share a little bit on our Saturday night Zohar class, and look forward to being with you each day here from Meron and learning more Zohar in honor of this great sage who gave his life for these books and these teachings. And he was run out of town by the Romans for 13 years. He lived in a cave, but eventually that Caesar died and he was allowed to come out of the cave. And his teachings, he promised that the redemption would happen. Now, the redemption of the Jewish people is the Jewish people coming to the land, returning to the Torah, returning to their holy selves. But that expands into the entire world eventually, because when we get it right, the whole world's going to get it right. So we look forward to seeing you all. Have a great week, Shavua Tov, and look for you on YouTube, Facebook, Insight Timer, Web Yeshiva, and check out our Patreon site and our WhatsApp. I guess there's some stuff over there too. If you check that out, we'll get my phone number. We'll be in touch. All the best.